Hey guys, Francis here, and I'm here to answer the question, why are there different warrior poses? Warrior 1, Warrior 2, and Warrior 3. So I'll show you the difference between the poses and give you a few variations for each one. You ready? Okay, here we go. All right, so we're going to start with some yoga blocks as your props. And I'll just explain the difference between Warrior 1, Warrior 2, and Warrior 3 briefly, what they are used for in their preparation. So Warrior 1 just basically, right, we have our wide stance from front to back. There's a little bit of space from side to side as well. The back foot is medially rotated, so you're going to work that medial rotation on the back thigh. The basic pose looks similar in the legs to Warrior 2, but the action is different. So my back foot's on a sharp angle, toes far forward, heel far back. Medial rotation, right, is happening in that back thigh. And there's a little bit of space from side to side for the feet. So if I drew a line down my mat with the width of my block, right, my feet might be on either side of that line. Okay, so Warrior 1, medial rotation, right, collarbones face forward, and it's a relatively forward-facing hip pose, relatively, because it won't be able to be all the way forward. But the other thing is it's a preparation for backward bends, okay? So medial rotation on the back thigh, opens up the front of the quad there, and then we go into backward bends from here. So opening the chest, and then coming back to center. You wanna have your front knee right over your front heel, right? Open the chest, and come back to center. So this is just a variation in Warrior 1, right? You could just come into this palms facing each other and reaching up, that's the classic pose. But I like to widen the arms and then get the benefit of opening the chest by reaching the arms behind you as well. So opening the chest and center, and again, opening and center. So that's Warrior 1. Now what's the difference with Warrior 2? So while Warrior 1, you're medially rotating that back thigh, and it's a preparation for backward bends. Warrior 2, the back angle of the back foot isn't as important, right? The front knee stays directed over the second toe, all right? And now the hips are relatively side facing, but you don't want that knee to drift in. So you don't ever want to try to square your hips all the way to the side, right? So front knee still over the front heel. Back thigh is now going to be laterally rotating instead of medially rotating. Hips relatively side facing, arms out, okay? So you can think of Warrior 2 as a preparation for hip opening because of what's happening in the hips. You're directing that front knee forward over the second toe, keeping it there, and then the pelvis is relatively side, not too far, right? Because that could have issues in the back hip over time. You don't want to do that. All right, so arms come out. Now some variations here. What I like to do, I like to put the forearm on the thigh and reach the top arm over, moving into modified side angle, and then back through Warrior 2, and then backhand to back thigh, front palm reaching up and back into reverse warrior. So we get some nice side bending while we just hold the leg position, moving forward and moving back. And again, moving forward and moving back. Let's do 2 more like that. Exhaling forward and back. One more time, exhaling forward and back. Now we'll go on to the next one. So we'll come out of this one. I'm going to do hands to hips. I'm going to just put my hand on my thigh there and push off of the back foot to come forward. I'm keeping the knee straight and just using the foot to push forward to come to the top of my mat. So Warrior 3, we'll start with the feet parallel, hands to hips. And I'm going to just start to shift my weight into one foot and then tip the torso, right? So I'm moving from the hip sockets. If my pelvis were a bowl, I'm spilling water out of the front of the pelvic bowl, and I'm keeping the torso and the leg that's moving in the same line. So if I keep my arm there for a second, I'm trying to keep them exactly in the same relationship. Hinge at the hip socket on the front hip, stay parallel with that back thigh, and move into a place where maybe you can get almost to, like, from the side view, the letter T, right? So coming into that Warrior 3 pose. My hands on my hips, I can have my elbows try to be level toward the floor, and that tells me my pelvis is level as well, okay? So Warrior 3, you can think of for balance, right? Takes a lot of focus when you're coming in and out of that pose. Now some variations on Warrior 3. I like to do knee lift, heel press, just miss the floor, and tip, and come into that pose. So we're working a little bit of hip flexion on the front part of that exercise, So knee lifting, working the hip flexion, right? As you press the heel forward and down, squeezing the knee straight. And then as you just miss the floor and reach the thigh back, right? Your abdominals are firm here. You keep solid in your shape, and you can think of the back thigh even lifting a little bit. So working a little bit of hip flexion and hip extension as you move into warrior three, okay? So let's do the same poses on the second side. This time we'll use some blocks to come in and out of the poses and see if we can get a little further. So starting with the blocks on the floor, we're gonna, this is Tiki here, so Tiki is we're a little visitor, and so see how he joins in the practice. So we'll start with the other side, and we'll come into lunge, right, to find a distance for your feet. Lift and place the back foot. Remember, warrior two, medial rotation, so that you get more stretch into the front of the thigh in preparation for backward bending. Relatively forward facing, let's come upright with the body, right? So that gives you a chance to set your feet, right, from our lunge, right, placing the foot and then coming upright. And you can check your distance from side to side. So you're on, like I like to say, you're on a pirate ship plank with your feet touching the outer edges so that you're more stable, so it adds more stability. But also, you're going to get more stretch into the front of the thigh as you do that medial rotation. Back knee straight, that's very important, right? So you're not on a tightrope, right? Now let's do our variation with the arms wide and open and center. And open and center. Two more, here we go. Open and center, one more. Open. And then let's bring the hands back down this time. Let's come back through lunge for a moment. Let's get ready for warrior two. So coming into it, so the back foot is not as sharp in the angle. Let's reach one arm forward, right? The leg that is back will be the arm that reaches forward, up, and open. Right? So just adding a little layer of complexity as you come in and out of this. You can check your distance, right? More challenging to have that knee right over the heel and wider with the stance, but no further than 90-degree angle here at the front shin bone and thigh. So arms out, let's do our variation for warrior two. And remember, this is lateral rotation in that back thigh as you keep that front knee directed forward. It's a hip opening focus. Now, let's come into our modified side angle and then reverse warrior. Again, modified side angle and reverse warrior. Just two more times like that, modified side angle, reverse warrior. Lots of breath as you move here. One more time, forward and back. Now let's sweep the hands to the blocks. So along the ball of the back foot, push out with that back foot to step forward. So we kind of came in and out of these different on the first round and the second round, so you can be a little more dynamic as you build your practice. Now, shifting your weight into the one foot. Let's just come into it regular first, and then we'll do our variation. So warrior three. So parallel leg, right? The tendency will be for the thigh to try to roll out. You don't want that to happen. So all 5 toes facing the floor. Think of your inner thigh lifting as you come into this pose, and that will help keep the thigh from rolling out, which is the natural tendency. Find a good focal point, right? And then slowly come into that shape. You try to keep those elbows like airplane wings level to the floor as best as you can, and that's how we come into warrior three. From here now, let's add our variation. Knee lift, heel press. Let's come into that shape and take your time. The hamstrings of the supporting leg, you have to work on this one a good deal. So they're working a little bit like the brakes to keep your torso from just flopping forward. Forward a little more. Let's just do 2 more like that. Keep breathing. You can step down as many times as you like, right? Remember, the success is in the doing. It doesn't have to be perfect immediately. That's why we call it a practice. Okay, so there you have it. 3 poses deconstructed a little bit. Warrior one, prep for backward bends. Warrior two, prep for hip opening. Warrior three, more focus on balance. And you can also work hip flexion and extension while you're at it. So I hope that's been helpful. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. Be well, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.